What's up, people? Welcome to episode 50 of Stack Sats or Die Trying. This is the Bitcoin only show brought to you by the Black Wealth Rebels as well as by the Hood. That's right, episode 50. That is the David Robinson and Mike Singletary episode. I don't think I said the last episode, which was 49, which was the Dennis Smith episode. Anyway, but episode 50, David Robinson, you know what I'm saying? Mike Singletary. So shout out to all the number 50s. Listen, though, as you're watching this, I'm probably on my trip. I got a trip coming up to Columbus, Ohio. I got a speaking engagement out there. So anybody in Ohio, holla at me. You know what I'm saying? If you happen to see this before, and if you do see this before I'm out there, that means that you're probably in the village because I'm dropping this in the village as soon as it's done. You know what I mean? So that's already out there. But it'll drop on YouTube later on in the week. With that being said, I do have a quick show today. I want to talk about time preference because I brought it up in a previous episode. I think it's important to talk about time preference as it pertains to investing in anything, but really in saving in Bitcoin. Because again, Bitcoin's not an investment. It's a savings, right? It's a true savings. It's your time and energy saved, right? And what makes that important is this. When you look at savings, your savings shouldn't be losing value over time because people decide they just want to print more money. Right? You go out there, you do your proof of work, whatever you do for a living, whatever you do to make your money. I don't care whether you're selling widgets, you're selling hamburgers, whether you're driving a bus, whether you're a police officer, whether you're giving out $40 dates, whether you're a firefighter, whether you're a teacher, whatever you do that and you save your money. We got to get back to saving, man. Make saving great again. Now, with that being said, of course, it's 2025, so I have a slideshow. You know what I mean? Because that's what we do. I told you 2025, we are getting into teaching, man. It's not just about me coming on here to pontificate, although you're going to get that anyway because I like pontificating, right? And I think I want to talk about time preference because, Bitcoin has been getting cooked in terms of its price in fiat, right? But it's funny because, when Bitcoin gets cooked or when it shoots up, that's when my phone goes crazy. When it's relatively flat, nobody says anything. But when it gets cooked, people calling me to talk trash. When it's going up, people calling me to tell me that, man, I wish I would have listened. But, I'm just slow and steady. You know what I mean? Slow money millionaires, as they say in my investment group. But the fact of the matter is it's been getting cooked. So I've been getting a lot of, questions. But what I realize is people have a different time preference to me. And when you talk about investing, time preference reflects how you value present rewards versus future gains. Are you patient, a long-term planner, or do you prefer quick wins? Because time preference will shape how you see investing. It absolutely will shape. By the way, this time preference is not just about Bitcoin, but I think time preference in Bitcoin is a great topic because this time preference could be your time preference in real estate or your time preference in, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, whatever it is that you want to, measure your time preference on, right? And one of the things that made me say that I should do this, it was a tweet by at Carl B. Menger. He's talking about the recent drop, right? He says more than 74% of realized Bitcoin losses came from holders who bought in the last month. The market is baptizing noobs and they are folding. Only the educated survive. HODL, hold on for dear life. What he's saying is Bitcoin shot up recently, right? And over the last month, a lot of people came in. And more of 70% of the realized losses came from those folks. So they came in, saw a little volatility, and got their ass out of there. Which is funny to me, right? Because that means that they didn't, y'all know what I'm getting ready to say, what they didn't do. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do the knowledge.
Do the knowledge, nigga.
But because they didn't do the knowledge, when they got, when the price went down, they took their ass and ran away. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you would have told me when I was buying Bitcoin at $900 that one day we would have a correction and go to $80,000, I would have laughed at you. That's the funniest part is a correction to $80,000 is absolutely insane. But again, if you don't have the experience, if you weren't around in 2017, you weren't around in 2020, like this is just par for the course for me. Because what I'm always checking, by the way, like I'm looking at the Moscow time and I'm like, all right, so the Moscow time is this. So it's time for me to do what I do. Side note, I shouldn't have said that because a lot of folks aren't, I know a lot of us are. A lot of people that watch this show, they're stackers. A lot of folks who watch the show are not stackers, but y'all mess with me, so y'all watch the show anyway. Salute to y'all. But for those who don't know what Moscow time is, it is the amount of sats that you get for $1, right? And you can look up the whole etymology of Moscow time. You know what I'm saying? Shout to Jack Dorsey. But, that's what Moscow time is for those who don't know. So I'm always looking to see how many sats can I get per dollar. So when we have, corrections or the price changes like this, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? It's because my time preference is different. The thing about me, though, is my time preference has always been different. Before I even knew what a Bitcoin was, or before I went down a rabbit hole, my time preference was already where it needed to be. And that's having a low time preference, right? Because the low time preference is future focus. It's about long-term assets, and it's about patient growth. So low time preference prioritizes future gains and delays consumption. You invest for greater returns over the long term, right? When you have a low time preference, we're talking about assets over a long period of time. So examples that could be stock market, real estate, but Bitcoin is another example, right? Bitcoin is something that, in my opinion, and again, anything I say on here is not investment advice. It's for educational, informational purposes only. But in my opinion, if you're going to be a Bitcoiner, you have to have a low time preference. To me, you can't be a Bitcoiner with a high time preference. It's impossible. But we talk about patient growth, right? We favor sustainable wealth versus just something short term. And we value compounding and strategic allocation. So we're talking about investing for a long period of time. Like I said, before I knew what a Bitcoin was, this is what it is. It's funny because everyone knows that I live on a Bitcoin standard. I don't carry cash. I don't need to carry cash. So when stuff goes down, people are like, yo, how you paying your bills? I know your stuff is down. I'm like, yo, I looked the other day, right? And I make purchases in various accounts. Y'all know my big fours, but I was looking at my Gemini account, right? I have made over 900 purchases of sats on Gemini. My average cost, matter of fact, I'll see if I can get a screenshot. I'll share it here if I can. My average cost was somewhere in the $20,000 range. I say that to say having a low time preference and then focusing on the long term, when I have to make the conversion to pay a bill or whatever, I'm unless Bitcoin goes below 10,000 or 5,000, listen, man, with the sis say on that TV show, the meme, all my bills is paid. You know what I'm saying?
When I pay my bills are paid.
All my bills are paid. I ain't worried about that. I'm focused on stacking for the long term. I'm not building for myself. I'm building for future generations. I am planting seeds right now. So as someone who is a seed planter, what happens in daily fluctuations doesn't bother me. As someone who comes from the real estate space, and I specialize in real estate valuation, but even when I work in real estate, that's at a low time preference. I don't care what the value of my property is right now. I care what the value of my property is going to be 45 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So low time preference is key. Just to explain, though, what's the opposite of low time preference? That's those that have high time preference. It's about immediate consumption. It prioritizes immediate needs, seeks quick profits. It is about short-term trading. And again, everyone knows, especially if you're in the village, and if you're not in the village, join the village, which is free. Just go to blackwealthrebels.com. But I digress. Y'all know that I be rumbling SPY every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm making my business to trade one thing and one thing only on a daily basis, which is SPY, SPY. And when I rumble SPY every day, you already know what it is. But the actual money that I make from SPY just goes into things that have the low time preference. You know what I'm saying? Like the point of me doing that is really a low time preference thing, but I enjoy rumbling SPY every day. When you have a high time preference, though, sometimes you take on higher risk, right? You take on higher risk because you're looking for faster returns, which makes you then take on higher risk. A lot of people who have high time preference like to do sports betting and all sorts of ridiculous stuff like that, where the house always wins. Speculative habits, right? So sometimes when you have a high time preference, you're not an investor at all. You think you're an investor, but what you are is a speculator, and it leads to a lot of crazy volatility in your portfolio because all you're doing is constantly speculating. I heard Jack Mallers, who's the founder of Strike, say something that I thought was profound. He said, based upon how fiat currencies work, everyone becomes a speculator. It's not enough to just be a doctor. It's not enough to just be an engineer. It's not enough just to be an architect. It's not enough just to serve $40 dates. It's not enough to be a firefighter. It's not enough to be a police officer. You have to do all of those things if that's your profession and still figure out how to be a money manager, because if not, your money is literally losing value, which is problematic long term. which is why it's better to have a low time preference than a high time preference. We want to get away from speculation and we want to start stacking and building for the long term, right? So a couple examples: low time preference, you reinvest your dividends instead of spending them. You hold real estate for decades. That's right, decades. And you accumulate Bitcoin for long-term value. You don't care about the price day in and day out. You are just stacking. That's low time preference. That is how you move. High time preference on the other side, like you day trade every day, you stocks and crypto, you're jumping all over the place. You make luxury purchases. You sell investments quickly due to your impatience. It doesn't work out for you. You know, it's funny. I see people who like buy an investment and then I see them online 3 months later, like, man, this thing is doing nothing. I'm like, 3 months? Are you kidding me? 3 months?
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Listen, I promise you, I have investments, right? S&P 500 investments, right? That I purchased in the 90s that I still have. And till this day, literally till this day.
Still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day.
I've always been about building for the long term because to me, that is where the value is. And then what I've learned through going through the rabbit hole, the real value is in going down a journey. The journey changes you. When you're able to flip the switch in your mind to have that low time preference. And again, I'm speaking of Bitcoin, but this applies across the board. It changes who you are. It changes how you value anything, right? I don't value a lot of nonsense that people value because what I realized early on, and I realized that a lot of times we buy things, and I heard, you know, the old saying, I was talking to my brother Kamari. Shout out to my brother Kamari, man. You know what I'm saying? I got the Finance Rebel shirt on right now. So if any of y'all watch this video, make sure you show him that I'm rocking the Finance Rebel shirt, but I digress. But I was having a conversation with him about a quote I heard from Will Smith, and he was telling me, oh, no, that comes from Fight Club. When he said people buy things they don't want to impress people they don't like or whatever. People spend money they don't have to buy things that they don't want to impress people they don't like. But the other part about that is a lot of us are buying things that have a high time preference to impress people that actually don't like you at all. They hate you, right? They hate you. And the fact that you buy these things makes them hate you more. And it's like, what's the point? Who are you really trying to impress? Are you taking actions and doing things that make you happy? Or are you acting like you have a high time preference and you're spending money to impress people that you don't like and who hate your guts? You know what I'm saying? So going down this journey changes you and it makes you value. That's why I said the thing about Bitcoin, which makes it a beautiful thing, is it's bigger than what you see in fiat dollars and cents. So when people say that, man, Bitcoin was 109 and it's now 80,000. By the way, at the time I'm recording this, we're about like 86,000, somewhere around there. Moscow time is like 1166, somewhere around there. Anyway, but I still have to say this. You really start to focus on what matters. I think there's a high correlation between going down a rabbit hole and minimalism because you start to realize that half of this shit don't matter. What matters is family. You know what I'm saying? What matters is community. What matters is having people that actually care about you. And you want to protect your savings. And I want to save. I don't want to have to be a money manager. I want to be able to go do whatever it is that I do to add value to the world. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a heart surgeon, I want to be a heart surgeon. I don't want to be a heart surgeon and a part-time money manager. I want to add value to the world and then do things that I enjoy doing, man, whether that's like fishing, swimming, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, like, you know, being a freak dude or freak woman, like whatever it is that brings you happiness and joy, do that and stack sats, you know what I'm saying, and stay out the way. Anyway, though, so Bitcoin, let's talk about Bitcoin in the long view. Bitcoin aligns well with low time preference because its scarcity and potential for long-term value appreciation make it attractive to investors. Many view Bitcoin as the store of value. You already know how I feel, right? So it acts as digital gold. It preserves your wealth over time. And in terms of growth potential, it offers significant growth potential. It's driven by adoption and scarcity. That scarcity is so powerful because Bitcoin is the most scarce asset to ever exist. In terms of the long-term vision, it requires a patient mindset and benefits from holding through volatility. That's the other part that I find funny because often when Bitcoin goes on its runs, whether it cracks 100 and when it cracks 105, people say, man, you just got lucky because you was in early. And it's like, it's easy for you to say that when it's going up, but when you are you able to withstand $25,000 drawdowns, right, and not pay it any mind whatsoever? This is where I'm earning right here. I'm earning by being a patient investor because what I do, My DCA is still running. My DCA machines are running and they will continuously run. I'm going to buy at 109. I'm going to buy at 80. If this thing drops down to 10,000, I'm still going to be buying, and I'm still going to be doing stack sats and die trying, and I'm still going to be talking crazy because that's what I do. You know what I mean? So Bitcoin changes you and it gives you that long-term vision. So time preference is very important when we talk about Bitcoin and other investments, right? So let's talk about Warren Buffett for a second. Many consider Warren Buffett to be the greatest investor of all time. Do I agree with everything he says? No, obviously not. I'm talking about Bitcoin. Warren Buffett hates Bitcoin, but that's because he doesn't understand Bitcoin. And that's okay, right? If I made a gazillion, billion, trillion dollars in a different system, when I have a different, in a whole different system and a new system comes up that could potentially threaten that, guess what I'm going to do? You know what I'm saying? In the words of Slim Charles, man, sometimes, even if it's a lie, man, you got to fight on that lie, man.
Once you in it, you in it. If it's a lie, then we fight on that lie. But we got to fight.
You know what I mean? But let's talk about this. Successful investors like Warren Buffett emphasize low time preference. They focus on long-term value creation. They avoid short-term speculation, and this builds sustainable wealth. There's a quote from Warren Buffett. It says, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Many people don't realize that 99% of the wealth that Warren Buffett has came after his 50th birthday. You talk about low time preference. This is someone who was a stacker. He was a stacker of equity in companies, but he was a stacker. He wasn't a trader. He was a stacker. So, you know, just want to bring that because a lot of people are familiar with Warren Buffett. They know, you know, a lot about him and they know his philosophy. But when we talk about time preference, he's someone that you think about, that low time preference. He made 99% of his money after his 50th birthday. I'm going to make sure I repeat that because I get comments and questions from people who are in their 30s, late 20s, and they're like, man, it's too late. I messed up. Life is ruined, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you are just getting started. When you have that low time preference, you're just getting started. So stack. You know what I'm saying? So which are you, right? Are you a speculator? Do you chase quick gains and you take high risk? Are you a saver where you value security and you prioritize low risk, or are you a long-term investor? You want steady growth, but you focus on sustainable assets, right? Those are three different things. I think everybody should be a little bit of a saver and a long-term investor. And even if you want to operate in all three of these, that's fine too, right? If you want to speculate a little bit, I mean, listen, you know, I kind of operate in all these boxes, to be honest with you, my day-to-day spy trades, but even that is calculated. And I've given this game on our Sunday show. For those who don't know, we do a class every Sunday. You know, look on our YouTube channel. But I talk about the fact that even my speculation is calculated. I have X amount of dollars that I keep in an account just for speculation. And a percentage of all the money that I make speculating actually goes into my long-term investments. So even that's calculated, but you can operate in all, you know, those different spots. So my takeaways from this is this. Understand your time preference. You want to choose your investments wisely. Bitcoin can be part of a low time preference strategy. So really stack sats. Consider your risk tolerance and invest for the long term. One thing I say is know yourself, right? Know yourself. You got to know who you are. The thing about advice when it comes to personal finance is it's personal, right? That's why I do not give investment advice. I am not your fiduciary. I'm just sharing about what I do, what I know, and, you know, my journey as a Bitcoiner. But know yourself, right? One of the things you want to do, regardless of who you are, where you stand, is be someone that takes time to plan. Write out your goals. Set your goals and write them out. I'm going to repeat that. Set your goals and write them out. One more time. Set your goals and write them out. It's not good enough just to set them. Actually write them out, right? Be patient. Just make sure you are always operating in the I quadrant, as Robert Kiyosaki would say on the cash flow quadrant. Be in the I quadrant. I don't care what you do for a living, what proof of work you do to add value to the world. Be an investor. I don't care if you are a lunch lady who works in a lunchroom. I don't care if you are a day laborer. You know, I don't care what you do. Be an investor. Everyone can be an investor, even if you're a SW, right? And, you know, you out here, you know, doing whatever you got to do to survive. You still can be an investor, right? You can be an investor. And I know y'all gonna be like, why you keep bringing up that? Because listen, it truly doesn't matter what you do to get your coin. And by coin, I mean your money, your coin. You can be an investor regardless of whatever it is you do for your proof of work. So everybody should be an investor. You know what I mean? So that is, you know, my presentation on time preference. I want to send a special shout out to everybody who supports what we got going on at the Black Wealth Rebels. As a matter of fact, though, let me do this too, though. I want to make sure that if you're not a member of the Black Wealth Rebels, that you do become a member of the Black Wealth Rebels, and you can do so by going to blackwealthrebels.com. That's right, it's blackwealthrebels.com. Blackwealthrebels.com. All right. Also, right now, go to phillycashmob.com. I'll put it right here. phillycashmob.com. If this is going to come on YouTube on March 7th, so maybe you watch it the first day. If you're in the village, you're watching it early, probably mad early, because I'm probably going to drop this on like Saturday before it drops that following Friday. But if you are in the village and you're watching this, make sure you go to Philly Cash Mob and come out to our event. We have an event coming up March 8th. We are in the community on March 8th, a pod class, and we're also going to do a cash mob where we pull up on a Black-owned business. Just make sure we support them. The event is completely free. I'll be there. My brother Kamari, Corey, our whole village is going to be there, talking about money, talking about community, and talking about what we could do to improve our current situation, right? So that's what we're going to do. So that's March 8th. Go to phillycashmob.com. It's brought to you by, the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists and the Black Wealth Rebels. So please pull up. That is March 8th. It will be mucho apreciado. Other than that, man, leave me some feedback in the comments. Let me know what you think about time preference. What kind of person are you? Have you always been a low time preference? And if not, tell me your logic in terms of not being in a low time preference. But I think that is where the magic lies, is really taking a long-term approach on everything that you do. Just give me some feedback, man. Do all the YouTube and stuff, like, comment, subscribe. As you guys know, I'll be messing up saying that at the end because I'm not really a YouTuber. I'm just someone who's passionate about my people and about Bitcoin. And I just want to have these conversations, man. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys the following week when I come back from Columbus, see what the Bitcoin scene is like out there. For those that are in Ohio, this next week, if you happen to see fireworks or you feel the ground shaking, that is just a response to me giving my speech, because I'm going to body bag it. Free old body bag. All kinds of Don DeMarcos will be heard because I'm going crazy. And, there will be Bitcoin talk. There will be wire bars, couple locks, quotables. I'm doing all the things. Anyway, man, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Remember, blackwealthrebels.com. That's how you join our village. But as I always say, stack sats or die trying. Peace.